and welcome to It's Fate. I'm Katie Christiansen.
And I'm Morgan Barker.
And today we are going to be going over chapters 61 through 69 of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas.
Yes, and our outfits today are inspired by Elaine because she gets kidnapped in this recap. And while she probably wasn't wearing a lovely floral gown while she was kidnapped, this is what she'd be wearing any other day.
And a dress, we find out. She's a dress wearer.
She is a dress wearer. Yeah. She was wearing a nightgown, but we got no description of the nightgown.
And I don't have nightgowns.
I don't have like old-fashioned nightgowns. No. Okay, well, I have our Pequot today. And it is, what is the first podcast you ever listened to regularly? And or like what podcast got you into listening to podcasts?
I started listening to podcasts over grad school. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure it's because I like could not have silence in my brain because then it would just be anxious.
Oh, I relate to that so much.
Yeah. It was a Harry Potter
I love
podcast.
That. Okay.
It was called Mugglecast. They still do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't listen regularly. Sometimes every once in a while because I like the people.
Yeah.
But I like them.
Yeah.
What got you into?
Mine was My Favorite Murder. I think I talked about it a couple episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
A true crime podcast. And that same grad school, I couldn't be in silence.
And like I wanted something that like I could escape.
Same. And it was an escape for me at the time.
Yours
I know
is
it sounds
a scary
weird.
escape.
I learned a lot, like safety wise.
Or how to become one.
I didn't pay attention to those parts.
That's probably good.
Yeah. But I did think about that sometimes. Even like I also grew up in a very true crime household. Like we watched Law and Order, we watched Cold Case, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I would think, wow, somebody could watch this and really learn some bad things.
Yeah. My mom really liked to watch like Dateline and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it always scared me though.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like.
It didn't scare me until I had a kid. But I don't know how my mom always did it. My mom's like, my kids are just going to watch it with me.
She was preparing you for the real world.
Yeah, a little paranoid there. Okay. Oh, we didn't touch on, we're drinking these lovely drinks that match our outfits today.
Olipop.
Not sponsored.
No.
I got classic grape.
Cherry vanilla.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To Elaine.
To Elaine.
Okay, well, let's start with the recap.
Okay, so we left off with the Suriel dying while telling Feyre to leave the world a better place than how she found it.
R.I.P.
Helion then winnows Feyre back to the war camp where she learns that they barely won the battle and Cassian was severely injured.
Yes, I feel like Cassian is always the one who's getting severely injured.
It's probably a sign that he's like, likes to get in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a care for his
well-being.
No,
absolutely not.
No.
Okay, so when Rhys, in this moment, like Rhys goes all high lord on Cassian, and it's like, you never do anything like that ever again. But then Cassian calls Rhys out for his self-sacrificing moves. And I just really love their relationship. Like, what other high lord would be able to have this conversation with somebody? So I just like that.
I like that they do call each other out. And even though Rhys is the technical one, like in power, it's still like his people can call him out.
Yeah, and he receives it fairly well.
Yeah.
Rhys also quickly forgives Feyre for running off without telling anybody, but Moore takes it very hard. Why? What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on their argument? I know it'll get resolved soon, but yeah.
I wonder if it's because Feyre like kind of did this too with like Tamlin when she went to the Supreme Court. Maybe Moore is just feeling like you need to include us in on these plans, which I totally get.
Yeah.
And there's things that I don't think it really was about Feyre leaving.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like her reaction it felt unwarranted. But clearly, I don't know what brought on all the emotions she's suddenly feeling. I don't know if it's just the war in general,
Probably.
But she's definitely in her feels and trying to sort some stuff out.
I think too, like she probably feels like Feyre could have died, and she was the one kind of responsible for her. So maybe like
that's a really good point.
Really scared.
Yeah, and like, oh my gosh, what would Rhys have done
Yeah.
To me, if Farrah had died.
Yeah.
Because Reese is scared. Like, his power is really
He is
terrifying.
scary.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that if Farrah told people that she thinks that they need to go to the cereal right now, would she have still went, or do you think they would have convinced her to wait until after the battle?
I think they would have convinced her to wait. Well, my first thought is they would have convinced her to wait, but maybe more would have gone with her. Maybe.
I think if Farrah really made it a point of like, we need to right now, then she would have. But yeah, I think they kind of would have. I think
Farrah's also Moore's High Lady. So can't she like command her to go with her?
Yeah, she could.
I don't know if she would pull that card, but she could.
She could. I don't think too they realize how useful the cereal is, because only Farrah is like BFFs with it.
I know. Does anybody else summon the cereal?
No.
Only Ianthe.
I know.
Hate her.
Okay, Moore, I noticed, was like so rude to Nesta, because obviously Cassian is like really hurt, and you see that Nesta basically watched the whole battle, whatever, and then they go out and Nesta has like a bucket, and Moore is like, shouldn't you be getting more water in that bucket? She says that she's mad that Nesta didn't tell anyone that Farrah left, and I'm like, look, Nesta trusts her sister. Like,
yes,
it's a sisterly bond. Like, if my sister said, do not tell anyone, I'm sorry, I'm not telling anyone.
Also, as we talked about last episode, it's been like weeks since Nesta and Elaine have been turned Fae and have met all these people. Like,
yeah,
she probably doesn't even trust Moore or any of the other Fae to like help her if needed. Yeah. So maybe if she'd been friends with Moore for years and they had this good relationship, she might be like, we need to at least follow Farrah and like keep her safe. But right now, like, why would Nesta go to her?
That's true. And Farrah, she's seen Farrah get out of really hard situations before. So it's kind of like, she's fine.
Yeah. And I think Nesta's been a little shocked by Farrah's powers, about how powerful Farrah is. So she's probably like, she can handle this. I've seen snippets of what she can do.
Yeah. The Moore Nesta relationship is very weird.
Yeah, yeah, makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, same. And then when Moore confronts Farrah about lying to her and essentially making Moore look dumb because she didn't know where Farrah was, Farrah goes freaking for the jugular and calls Moore out for stringing Azriel along. What do you think about their reactions to this?
Okay, yes, maybe it was a low blow. At the same time, it's about time. Like, it's about time somebody called her out. It probably shouldn't have happened in that way. It probably should have been like a, hey, friend, while we're enjoying this drink, like, what is going on with you guys? I'm a little worried about you. You know, it shouldn't have been in this heated argument. But I was like, yes, it's time to talk about this because this is ridiculous.
And like, if anyone's going to call her out for it, I think it's going to be Farrah.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense based off of their relationship.
I think so too.
Okay, in the next chapter, they all gather around a map of Prithian in order for Nesta to scry, which, did you know what scrying was?
No.
Is this a real thing or is this a fantasy thing?
It would not surprise me if it was a real thing. So I don't know.
I mean, like, is this a common term that people know about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not into witchcraft, though. So.
No, me neither. So anyway, Nesta scries using bones and stones, and she finds the cauldron and the army right by the human territories. And when they dump out the bones and stones for Nesta to scry, did you notice what she said? 3 stones for 3 faces of the mother, which made me think of 3-faced goddess from Throne of Glass.
That is a really good point.
Because they talk about the mother all the time, and we don't get a ton of information about what or who she is. But
it's kind of like it's weird because they have the cauldron, but then they reference like a mother as well.
The mother feels more like a Judeo-Christian god, like this unseen figure that is somewhere in the universe.
Yeah.
But we don't get a lot of details about her. So this was just an interesting little tidbit.
Something else I noticed is that the bones were marked with a letter that Farrah didn't recognize.
I just got chills.
And it reminded me, it's like, okay, did the bones have word marks on them?
to help with spells? And where did these bones and stones come from? Are these like
Yeah.
ancient scrying bones and stones that they've been, how many times can I say bones and stones, that they've been like keeping in their troves somewhere?
I don't know.
Oh my.
Lots of connections.
I love that. When Nesta starts to scry, I love that Farah is marveling at the fact that Nesta lets Cassian touch her back in comfort, and the fact that Nesta's even there, because I'm like, I'm marveling at this too. Like, we went from 0 to almost 100 here. Like, I'm gonna help tend to the wounded. Now I'm gonna help you find the cauldron, and I'm letting Cassian lay a hand on me. Like, wow, impressive.
It is impressive, and I think honestly, I think her like having to like actually see war probably helps that. It feels more personal because it is personal. So I feel like that in that sense, it makes it real for her. Moore isn't in the room when Nesta's crying, right?
No, I don't think so.
I wonder if Cassian would have been so like touching her.
Probably not.
If Moore was there.
Because we know what happened last time. Moore walked by while Cassian was like having his wounded hand cleaned by Nesta.
I can't with them.
Ridiculous. All right, so then the group tries to come up with a plan now that they've realized Hybern kind of duped them and has too many soldiers to fight. And all of a sudden, Varian arrives and finds Amryn and kisses her. Do you think Amryn has ever been kissed so boldly before?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if she's ever been in a relationship.
I don't think so.
I love it.
I also love it.
I didn't care that much about it the first time I read it. I was like, oh, whatever. It's like a side character. But I'm like, this is really cute.
Well, something I noticed about Varian is he has white hair.
I know. And I never even think about him.
You're a fan of the white hair.
I guess I am. Oh, and I remembered you asked me what TV show I like that has somebody with white hair, and it's The Witcher. I mean, who doesn't love Henry Cavill? I feel like I've talked about him on multiple episodes. And I think he's my husband's celebrity lookalike. Even though I don't know if everyone would agree. I think so.
I mean, I don't think they look exactly alike, but I can see where your mind is.
Thank you.
I don't have like wife goggles on.
It's true. I don't mind.
No.
Okay, so Farah also noted that they sounded like they were purring while they were kissing. That Amryn and Varian.
No, just Amryn was purring.
Oh, Amryn was purring.
Yeah.
Which she didn't like. And I thought this was interesting because I guess purring is off limits, but snarling, roaring, barking, all fine. Growling, good to go.
Any other like animalistic thing?
Yeah, more beast style, but cats, it's a no-go.
She doesn't like the cats.
No.
Which I feel like Reese is more like a cat than he is a dog.
Is your husband more dog or cat?
Dog.
Same.
I'm more cat.
I'm a dog.
You are a dog.
Glad we established this.
Okay. Then Farah dreams of the cauldron, watching them, and then she wakes up, and her, Amryn, and Nesta hear the cauldron singing an enticing song, and then they realize that it stole away Elaine.
Yes. Okay, this whole thing has like the makings for a scary movie a little bit. Like they're near the forest, Elaine's wandering away. I think this was the first time that I saw the cauldron as scary. Every other time I've been kind of like, okay, I don't get it.
I think because it doesn't have a brain. You know what I mean? Like it's weird to think of like this object that's like sentient, but it's not at the same time.
Yes, which we've talked about a few times where I'm like, how like you're able to make like mating decisions, but you're not like other people can wield you, but you don't have your own decisions.
But they like it does at the same time.
Yes.
It's strange.
Yeah.
It's hard to grasp.
It's really interesting. But I was scared of it this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see here that those made can hear or sense the cauldron, even if they weren't made by the cauldron. Do you think others that aren't of this world, like the bone carver, can sense it too? Or do you think Amryn qualifies because she was put into a human body and is now made because of that?
I do think that other, like their old beastly things can sense the cauldron. It seems that they have, like the bone carver knows things like, right, he's always like, the wind is telling me. But I really think like it could be like the cauldron too. Especially as we see that the bone carver is like somehow connected to death.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And he talked about Nesta before he had even known about Nesta and like how Nesta was in the cauldron. So that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
It's also interesting that Asriel knew something was wrong because of the shadows, which makes me think about the theory we discussed, how Asriel could be connected to Bryaxis a little bit. Or that maybe Asriel isn't of this world either.
Yeah, like definitely his powers are something special.
Yeah, they're like not typical. They say it's rare, but they don't really talk about where it comes from.
And we never meet another Shadow Seeker. So
yeah,
maybe in the next book.
Curious.
Do you think Elaine was in her right mind when she went and followed the cauldron, or she was kind of like under some type of like spell?
I picture it like Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
When she gets lulled to the spinning wheel to prick
That's
her finger,
how
where she's like in a daze and she can't control herself.
Especially using like Grayson as the
call, or like a siren call, to sailors in the sea, like kind of where you're like there, but you can't control what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to really fight against it.
Have you watched Dune too? Sorry.
Not the second one.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of like The Voice. Like, when you can they could like hear people.
Yes.
But like, they're like, why am I doing this almost?
Yes.
Kind of like that.
Creepy.
You need to watch it.
I know I do. It's just so long.
It is. Okay, so Azrael and Feyre decide to go after Elaine, and Feyre shapeshifts into Ianthe to be able to get into Hybern's camp. Didn't the serial just warn Feyre to stay with Rhys? Like, stay with the High Lord?
Yeah. And she's like, out of here.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Gotta go save my sis, which I don't blame her.
Yeah, I don't blame her either.
Do we really think she would do anything different?
No.
When Feyre is like, this has that split second of like, what am I going to do here? She recalls when Elaine bought her paints. And that was kind of like the memory that made her decide like, I'm going and nothing can stop me. And I just thought that was a really sweet moment.
It's so
like
sweet.
One of their only positive, at least one of Feyre's only positive memories from her life, her childhood.
Yeah. Going after her sister.
Yeah. Fresh.
Rhys gives Feyre a little pep talk, and Azriel winnows Feyre to the Hybern camp. So Rhys calls Feyre a wolf, just like the Suriel did.
Oh my.
And I kind of love that, like, these beings that seem to know Feyre's heart kind of, like, represent her in a wolf, because she absolutely is wolf-like. Like, pack.
Yes.
She's a leader. She's very loyal. But if you mess with her people, watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Rhys tells Feyre, you do not yield. And it reminded me of Throne of Glass.
Of course, I'm already like having an emotional response to that phrase.
Where Aelin hears her mom tell her that in Kingdom of Ash, like, you do not yield. And like, oh.
I know. Oh,
it's so sweet.
I feel like when authors use a phrase like that, it is, especially since Throne of Glass came first, I feel like the hope is to invoke that kind of emotion from the readers.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe a phrase that Sarah J. Maas herself like feels really connected to.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Before they go, Az and Rhys use very formal language with one another, and I kind of liked it because it set the tone for how serious this was. It was like he used Shadow Singer to talk to Azriel, and then Azriel used High Lord when he was referring to Rhys, and it was like, okay, we're not messing around here.
Yeah.
What do you think Rhys would have done if Azriel had come back, but Feyre hadn't?
I don't think he would have like done anything to Azriel, but I think he would go to Hybern and like obliterate everyone.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'd want that responsibility.
No.
Like, I'm gonna tap out on this one.
Like, Cassian, are you sure you're feeling that bad?
Apparently Amren can blink and the world dies, but we never see that.
Okay, earlier, it was like a few episodes ago, you asked about Azriel never really winnowing.
Like, we knew he could winnow, but people are constantly winnowing him.
Yes, and his winnowing is described here, and it says that Feyre felt like it cut through the world like a blade, which is very different from like Rhys's, where she feels it's like a night swept, like whoosh.
Yeah.
So, and that his winnowing is darker and colder and sharper than Reese's.
I didn't even catch that. Okay, so I've started to read Frost and Starlight for our next few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a point in it already, right in the first few chapters, where Cassian says that Azriel isn't actually winnowing. He's somehow transporting through the world in a different way. And that Reese can do that as well. But Reese typically winnows. Like, they just disappear. I'm like, what does that mean?
What's the difference?
I don't know. But this is a cool description.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, in the next chapter, Jurian, surprise, surprise, helps them get to Elaine and save this human girl at Farrah's request. Tamlin helps them escape by guarding them from Hybern's beast, and everyone makes it out alive. Even Tamlin.
Of course.
Woohoo.
No one dies.
How do you think, so Farrah is just disguised as Ianthe here, which was so smart of her, and not just disguised, like she's using her shape-shifting powers to be Ianthe, which I always forget that that's something she can do, is like physically shift into somebody else. Jurian almost immediately knows it's Farrah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think he knew?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I wonder if he somehow got a report that Ianthe was taken out.
That's a good.
He seems to like know things. A little spy.
Maybe
That's a great question, though.
maybe after being just an eyeball for 500 years, his like senses are really heightened, like his awareness of things. I don't know.
His eyeballs everywhere.
He has really good eyesight now.
That's his only sense, actually.
Yeah, now he can't do anything else. His seeing just covers it all. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Jurian also rescues what we find out to be a child of the blessed that Farrah saw. And he did this without being discovered, which I think is really badass. Because at first he told Farrah, like, it's either your sister or that random girl. Like, you don't get both. But somehow he did it. Also, who is this girl? Like, she's like there. And then she's brought back to the camp, and then we never hear about her again.
The children of the blessed need to just stop. Who's recruiting them? The children of the blessed need to stop.
Probably Faye.
Probably
Sneaky evil Faye.
Probably. But like, I don't know.
Yeah. But this girl, I think her name was Blair or Briar. I don't remember.
I don't remember her name. She went off with the Winter Court people.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
Just thought it was
Who knows what
interesting.
happens
Kind of
to her.
random.
Yeah. I totally forgot that Tamlin helped them escape, to be honest.
Yes.
I was like, Tamlin, he's good.
This roller coaster of being like, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. I'm shook by it every time because I forgot what happens.
It's whiplash.
It literally is.
Yeah.
I'm like, that son of a gun. He's a traitor.
She gets us every time.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, he deserves his redemption.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love that Farrah and Azriel's conversation about training her to fly, even just a little, that it could save her life, like actually came into play here.
I know. And it's kind of like in a similar way of like
Nefel? Yeah.
Who knows? Not me.
Yeah.
In like, make it or break it, honey.
Literally,
You're
like
going to either like fly or die.
Yeah. Fly or die.
Is that the episode name? Fly or die.
Fly or die, stones and bones.
Lots of rhyming.
I love it.
I love that when Azriel was carrying Elaine, how Elaine was like kick the beast that like went up to grab them. I'm like, yes Elaine, go. Like, here we go. Here we see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like from this point on, like her Spitfire's coming out and I love it. I really do. And then Farrah, Nesta, and Elaine have a sweet little reunion and end up snuggled together in a tent on a rug.
Okay, I really love this scene, and I feel like it set up the storyline of having all the three Archeron sisters like heal and come together, and then that like didn't really happen in Silver Flames.
No, they have a very interesting sister relationship. And yeah, it's like even through Silver Flames, when Nesta heals, like her relationships with her sister is okay.
Cordial,
yeah. But it is odd. Like you've literally gone through hell with each other. You've almost died multiple times. You've gone through like similar traumas and you're still not connecting over them.
It's
and
kind
healing
of
together.
Frustrating to me because I'm like, okay, we get all these other happy endings. I want sisterly bond.
Me too. I wonder if it'll be Elaine that brings them all together, since Elaine is kind of the connector of them. So maybe it'll be her.
I hope so.
Me too.
Because it set it up, and then I didn't get it. And I was like, wait.
And I'm like, oh, so cute. They're snuggled, and they like share a rug, and now they're just, it's going to be the best. No.
So in the next chapter, Feyre wakes up and has a heart-to-heart with Mor about their argument. And Mor tells Feyre that she prefers females.
Yes, so that answers some questions. Before they do this, Feyre reflects a little on the Hybern escape with Tamlin. And it's interesting that she calls him the weakness that transforms into strength in regards to the Nefel philosophy, rather than her flying, that like he was the weakness that actually saved them. Do you think he was really playing double agent with Hybern the whole time, or do you think this was a pivotal moment for him?
I do think that he was playing double agent. But it's hard to play double agent when he doesn't have any allies, so it comes across as like not that well planned.
Yeah, and I feel like he could have shared that at the High Lord meeting of like, let me be your guys' double agent, and maybe
and like let me prove it to you. Like I'll like hear some secrets, like or being like here set something up, and then I'll tell Hybern about it. But like it's gonna be a trap or something,
right? Like why can't we work together?
He was too busy freaking being a jerk and calling Feyre names, like
literally just so immature.
He's very immature. We learned so much about Mor in this scene, and I kind of feel bad for like being so hard on her and annoyed at her.
I know,
but
I did love getting this information. Though.
Yes, and I think it really sheds a lot of light on her relationships.
Yes,
especially with everything. And I love that she was in love with a human queen.
I know,
a human,
and how it made me think of Astrid. What was her name? Astrid?
Yes, not Astrid.
Astrid. Thank you. In Throne of Glass, how she would go back to the hunter's cabin, but he was gone.
And it was too late.
It was too late. And I know. That did make me emotional. Honestly, like her whole story, I did feel bad for her.
But
it's like Nesta to me, where like I feel bad for Nesta. I feel like you can't use your hardships as an excuse to treat people poorly. Is that an explanation for why you do it? Yes. Is it an excuse? No. So that's why I'm like, come on, Mor. Like, I feel like you are a better and bigger person than this. But she just needs to heal. She needs that therapy that Prithian doesn't have. But I literally, like, I cannot imagine being in fear of my family so much that I can't share with them the person that I love. Like, it has nothing to do with gender or sexuality here. She's just like, I can't, if they know that about me, then they will target that about me.
Oh, I think they also don't like gay people.
You think so?
Yeah.
I thought she said,
because she can't
maybe it was just like the Court of Nightmares. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. I was thinking, because Feyre was like, we don't care about that in Prithian or like in the Night Court. And that's when Mor was like, I know, but it's my family. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even just like the fact that, I don't know. I imagine if she was in love with
anyone,
a male.
Azriel. It could be Azriel.
They would try to kill him or like something. You know, it doesn't matter who it is, but that's right. That would take away the breeding, which is disgusting.
Which is apparently all she's good for.
She's a woman. What else do you expect?
I don't know, maybe equal rights.
Oh, you literally wrote in here, it reminds you of Astrid. I'm so sorry.
I
remembered in the moment.
You're totally good. Just stealing my points? How dare you?
I know. Okay, we kind of talked about this a little bit. Do you feel like her stringing Azriel along is justified now?
No.
Okay, me neither.
No.
Yeah.
I'm glad she's like, I know it's really crappy, but I still do it. But I'm like, okay, you recognize the pattern. Let's break it now.
Yes.
I feel like this also gives insight into Azriel, and I started thinking more about him, and I wonder if part of his obsession with Mor is partly due to the fact because he knows he can't have her.
Yeah.
It's like he feels like he doesn't deserve her, and she doesn't want him. So it's like, yep, I'm going to pursue you because it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
There's something that appears romantic about Azriel, like pining for Mor at first.
Not for 5 years.
And as I keep reading, I'm like, this is weird, dude.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she should have a conversation with him. And here's the thing, I don't even feel like she would have to tell him about her sexuality. If she didn't want to, she could still have a conversation with him and saying, like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just like, tell him no.
I love you like a brother. Like, that's not gonna,
set him free in that way.
So leaders gather in the war tent and realize that Hybern was trying to exhaust them so they can get to the human lands and attack as a vengeance on the Archeron sisters.
Yes.
And Amren announces that she found a way to stop the whole army.
This is quite literally unhinged and so prideful of the King of Hybern to basically do this in revenge of 3 previously human, as he would probably say, girls.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, dude. Let it go.
He can hold a grudge.
He really can. And I love the speech Rhys gives here about fighting for those that cannot fight for themselves, and Farrah reminding everyone that one life can literally change the world. And I feel like from this point on, I cry like every other chapter. So surprise, surprise, tears were shed.
Yeah, it was really sweet. And I'm glad she like said that, because it is true. Like, she changed Prithian history. They would have still been captured under Amarantha.
Yeah. So sweet. All right, the next couple chapters, they plan for Amren and the 3 sisters to use the cauldron to nullify Hybern and his army. But first, they use all their strength to winnow as many humans as possible into the Summer Court. Because once again, sweet High Lord Tarquin is like, I got him. I'll keep him safe.
He says, I got you.
Him and his white hair.
Do we ever find out the King of Hybern's name?
No.
That's very interesting. There's another king in Throne of Glass where we didn't find out his name for
a very long time. We did eventually find out his name. Yeah. There's a lot of nameless people here. Interesting. I wonder if so similar to like Throne of Glass, how his name was forgotten, this was kind of in a different way. I think the King of Hybern is pretty old.
Oh yeah, he seems old.
Like, maybe it's just been forgotten over time.
Imagine forgetting your name.
Like, others have just forgotten it, and he's just like, I'm king. And maybe he's forgotten it because he's so power hungry. He's just like, I'm the king. Call me king. I don't know. Yeah, that would suck. While convincing the humans to come with them for safety, Farrah says that Rhys gently held their minds. I'm like, what does that mean? How are you? So, like,
I'm sorry, I made a funny noise because I was pretending to like strangle someone. I forget that not everyone like, you don't watch these. That was me strangling someone's mind, gently holding their mind,
gently holding / strangling. But like, it's like talons, right? And like Farrah could feel when Rhys held her mind that last time. Yeah, like the nails on the chalkboard. I don't like that. Like in the first book, Farrah was like, I can feel that he's holding my mind, and that in a moment he could smush it, basically. Ugh. So what is that gentle
caress?
Yeah. And like, was that like gently holding to help ease their discomfort or fear?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I think he was trying to be like, look, we're here to help you. Like, things are going to go bad tomorrow, so we're trying to save you.
Yeah.
Do you agree with his decision to like take the humans who still were refusing after he showed them that bad things were going to come?
I thought about that too.
It's a hard question.
It really is. And there is a part of me, I do agree. I could see why people wouldn't, but I'm like, yeah, like once they figured this out, this isn't like a I want to die situation, right? Like when there are people who want to die, that's a whole other argument, in my opinion. This is more of like, oh, I don't trust you. I don't understand what's happening here. And so I think it was the good choice to just be like, well, I'm just going to take you so then you're safe.
Sorry.
And you can be mad at me tomorrow if you want. Yeah. But here we are. Yeah.
I think I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
But I can see how that's bad.
I know. I get it. It's probably controversial. Okay, Farrah decides she cannot let Rhys continue to be the only one to sacrifice herself, so she winnows to the Court of Nightmares to get the Ouroboros. And I love that Farrah's love for Rhys is what fuels her to do this. We also get some details of the beast Farrah sees as herself in the mirror. I was gonna read it. Okay, so 6:05 to 6:06. We just get a couple details. Ferris says that she was not alone. Crawling down the snow-kissed wall, a massive beast of claws and scales and fur and shredding teeth inched towards the floor. Its enormous paws were near silent on the floor, the fur on them a blend of black and gold. Not a beast designed to hunt in these mountains, certainly not with the ridge of dark scales down its back and the large, shining eyes that were blue-gray eyes. And that is pretty much how it was. It has like scale, it has a tail, but it's also furry, and what else?
Big
Shredding
eyes.
teeth, big blue-gray eyes. Do you think there's any significance to the description there?
Yes. Especially like the gold, because I think Feyre, like obviously she has a golden heart. Like,
Yeah.
that's what her character is.
Love that.
With like the black, right? Like the night court. The scales are very interesting to me. I wonder if it's like, doesn't Reese's beast have scales on him?
I think his beast is kind of like dragony.
Yeah.
It
It was really hard for me to picture.
yeah.
Beast.
I'm wondering if like, because it sounds like it has scales and it has fur and it has like all these different attributes that don't typically go together. I wonder if that has something to do with her kind of being formed from all of the different courts.
I like that.
And kind of being like, I'm curious what everyone's beast looks like and if like perhaps she's a little bit of everybody in a sense. But then like
really
maybe
like
the
that.
gold is her, like you said, her golden heart stringing her together.
I really like that. And that would make sense. I also like that she like pointed out that the beast wasn't meant to hunt in those mountains.
Yes.
Feyre doesn't hunt in those mountains. She hunts in the human lands.
It's like still a beast, but it just sat and watched her. And like it still had those super sharp teeth that could do a lot of damage if needed, but doesn't always.
No. Just like Feyre.
Yeah.
She'll only hunt you if you
hurt her fam.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. Feyre brings the mirror to the bone carver only to realize he had no need for the mirror and it was all a test. And she is pissed that he just wants to see if she was worthy. What do you think about this?
I don't like the test, obviously, but I wonder if it's to check to make sure that her intentions are to be good and not to become like this evil dictator person. There obviously takes a special type of person to be able to look in the Ouroboros and not go crazy.
Yeah.
To be able to like have that self-reflection. So I don't like it, but she was fine.
Yeah. I also, I don't know.
I think it brought her some healing.
I think so too. And the whole not being transparent about it being a test is a little iffy, but like I could get why the bone carver is like, you need to prove yourself a little bit before I put myself at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wonder if the Ouroboros will come back into play in another book because it clearly is something really, really powerful and we never really, and Feyre has control over it. She can summon it.
Right, but what does it do again? What does it mean?
We can look
between worlds.
I think between worlds and like in the world as well.
Oh, that's neat. Like a magic mirror on the wall.
I think so, because the Weaver would use it to hunt fair maidens.
Yes.
For their
wow, that is
youth.
so mirror, mirror on the wall.
I know. Who will be the fairest of them all? Elaine.
I was going to say Ferris, but yeah, Elaine for sure. I don't know.
I don't know either.
This is a little Sleeping Beauty, a little Snow White.
Okay, then in the next chapter, everyone prepares for battle. And we learn that Azriel is still healing and cannot fight, which obviously he's like really upset about it.
Yes, he is.
So it's pointed out that Elaine was too shy to put on the Illyrian fighting leathers and opted for a more modest winter court one instead, even though it was like freaking hot out.
Yeah.
Why do you think Nesta and Feyre seem not to have a problem with pants, but Elaine does?
I think it's a part of her personality. Like she's just so dainty. I mean, there are women in the modern world that prefer dresses and there's just something about it for them. So yeah, I don't know.
I was wondering it too, if it was like this contrast of like Feyre and Nesta will do anything to protect her. Even if that includes putting on some pants. I mean, Feyre also earlier in the series kind of insinuates that like Nesta would sell herself if it protected Elaine.
Protect Elaine, yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's like, yeah, Nesta and Feyre will be uncomfortable in any way, but like Elaine's not as used to it.
Yeah. I wonder too if it's also a part of her holding on to the life she always wanted. Like I feel like she, more than anyone, it was like not in like a greedy like money, but like she definitely valued their comfortable life. And it's like she came alive once they had money again. And I mean, I can understand that.
And her mom, it seemed that like Nesta has said that like her mom basically told her like Elaine is the most beautiful one. She's going to be the one to like bring our family even more.
Yeah, she was like raised to be that dainty doll.
So she's like she probably has never worn pants. Yeah.
Azriel gives Elaine truth teller, which is a big deal because Rhys says he's never seen him let anyone touch that knife. Do we know how Azriel got truth teller?
No.
Okay, we've never found that out, even in the other books. Okay. When the scene happens, Farrah pictures the painting in her head, and Rhys mind speaks to her to paint it when they get home. And this is when I just now realized Rhys has never seen her paint. She has not painted in the Night Court.
Just his cabin.
That's right.
But not like a painting.
Yeah.
That she always pops in her brain.
I know. Yeah. That's right. The cabin. That was it.
Yeah. But yeah, she really hasn't painted.
No. Rhys gives a speech and says something kind about each person. And I loved this. And it really did remind me, even amidst like the annoying character traits about some of these people, how much I love every character. And I cried again. Just like, what a good leader.
Okay, I was also getting emotional with it.
It's emotional.
Something I noticed though is that for Amren, it wasn't very personal. Like he says, for everyone else, he points out like these characteristics that he like loves about them. But for Amren, Rhys says that if he would not have met her, his power would have consumed him long ago. And I'm like, well, now you're just pointing out what she did for you and not like what something about her you love.
I took it more of like maybe it was the way he worded it, but I took it more as if he were saying like you saved me, kind of like I don't know.
See that.
Also, Amren is not very personable.
No,
like
part of me did think I wonder if Rhys is like I can't say these sweet things because she'd be like didn't like it.
True. That's so true.
She'd be like, I'm not like that. I'm not nice.
I drink blood, remember?
I'm scary. I love that towards the end of Rhys's little speech, they all linked arms and Moore reached for Az, which I think is really nice.
And he probably took it as, maybe she loves me.
Well, you know what? Maybe that saved him a little bit.
Maybe it did. Maybe it motivated him in this war. Who knows?
The two armies then attempt to break each other's shields with magic before the fighting goes into combat. And Rhys and Feyre surprise each other and Hybern with the monsters that they made deals with.
Yes.
Okay. Is the king of Hybern like a witch, wizard type person? And I only say that because earlier in this book, Moore says that witches use magical objects to attain more magic than they were gifted. And I feel like, isn't that what the king of Hybern kind of does? Like using the spells, using the cauldron, like using magical things.
I think that's a great point. I would say yes. Even though they don't label him as such, it seems like that's exactly what he is.
Yeah. And there's not a clear difference between them. So maybe he's a little wizard.
But not Harry Potter.
Well, speaking of Harry Potter.
Oh.
When they were breaking the shields, it actually reminded me of the Battle of Hogwarts when they like they're one with their wands.
And it's just like the power clashing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I pictured in my head.
Yeah. I just pictured them staring at each other and like using their minds. I'm like, this is so boring.
Yeah.
Not that I want to watch war either.
No.
But there you go.
Okay, I have to point out the little Nestian moment.
Of course you do.
Okay, when Cassian turns his back, Cassian's gonna leave, And then he turns back and is going to say something to Nesta, but then he doesn't say anything. And I'm like, what are you going to say?
I want to know. I need to know.
Yeah.
Their dynamic is so interesting.
I love it.
It's very interesting.
It's like building up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's yep. I love how Farrah reveals the monsters to Reese by calling it his mating present. I was like, this is just such a cute little moment.
Is so them.
I know.
It's so them.
Who else would have a moment like this? Nobody.
Here's an ancient monster that I gifted you that will fight this battle.
And he's
us.
like, well, look what I did too. Like, I love that they both did it for each other. Did you remember that it was Reese who made the deal with the Weaver?
No.
Me neither. I was like, oh, he did that. I was waiting. Like, Farrah makes a deal with the Weaver, right? Like, when's that happening?
I feel like this just shows, like, when the battle scenes happen, sometimes, like, my brain just, like, a little bit. I'm, like, reading it, but I'm, like, there's so much detail that sometimes I don't want to know.
I tried to pay more attention this time.
Yeah.
And I still didn't understand what was happening.
Well,
there you go.
I've never been to battle, so it's hard for me to picture it.
Well, why not? I mean, you're 29?
Yeah.
Yes. You're 29 years old. Get to war. No. Don't. No. Absolutely not. Terrifying.
A war of words is what I prefer.
Me too.
And even then, no thank you.
Twitter war. Back in the day.
Nothing more, to be honest. I'm like, I want everyone to be happy.
How about me warring? Never mind. There's nothing. I don't know. I was going to try to make a joke about sleeping, but it doesn't make any sense. So scratch that.
A war on work.
A war on work.
Let's all not work.
We could have a war on a lot of things. War on war.
War on war. There we go.
Perfect.
The bone carver, when he sees his twin sister, the Weaver, he like is about to like run away. And then she's just like, meh.
She's like, hey bro.
It's fine.
Hey bro, long time no see.
I really want their story. Because he's clearly really scared of her.
Yeah. I want to learn about him and Koshi and like all of them.
Mm-hmm. All the death gods.
Yes. All right. That's the end of our recap.
Yes. I have a random question.
Is it an orquat? Did you just not want to use the word?
Yeah. I forgot that we have that. Okay, so I have an orquat, I guess. Overall
recap question of the episode.
Okay. That's probably why I forgot we used that, because I'm like, what does this stand for again? Okay. Farrah says that when the bone carver appears, he appears as an Illyrian in his prime. Did you think Hybern knew that it was the bone carver, or did they think it was just like some random man?
I think they knew. I think they could probably sense his presence.
Like an otherworldly presence.
Especially like the king being connected with like darkness and dark objects. And I think I want to say even like think about Farrah walking through the prison, right? She can like sense the evil in a sense, or like not the evil, but the dark ancient power, So I feel like that would have still been able to be felt.
Okay, when I first read this section, I was really disappointed that the bone carver didn't have a bone with him to like whack people, because I'm like, that's how he needs to freaking take people out. He does. We find out in chapter 70.
Yes. And it's like a wand.
Yeah,
it
is like a wand. I want to say Harry Potter today. He basically does.
He's essentially Voldemort.
Yeah, who can shapeshift.
Yeah, and is maybe a little nice-ish.
Yeah, Voldemort's not nice.
No. He doesn't have a good bone in his body. Pun intended. Okay. I think you had our Wheel of Fortunes, too.
I did.
And do our little... Oh.
Okay. I'm sorry. I couldn't get this Cassian Nesta moment out of my head, because I know that Cassian... To me, I'm like, okay, who's going to declare his freaking love?
Yeah, or he's going to, like, run up and passionately kiss her.
Oh, my God. What do you think would have happened if he did, like, say anything about his feelings to Nesta in this moment?
Okay, I think nothing would have changed, honestly. I think they still would have gone through what we're going to recap next week, all the battle stuff, where they have a lot of moments there, and I think she would still feel all the things she felt, and then after the war, I think she would ghost.
She likes to run away from her problems.
She likes to run away from her positives, too. Anything.
She likes to run away.
Run fast for your mother. No, what's that other one? run the Stranger Things song?
I don't know.
Okay, cut this all out. Let's get out of here.
Okay. Well, next week we will be reading chapters 70 to 82 and
finishing ACOWAR.
Yeah, and we will have Dana as our guest.
Yes, for fan casting all of the High Lords and some of the other fun characters. So tune back in for that. Follow us on TikTok at It's Fate Podcast, YouTube and Instagram at It's Fate Pod, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple.
Bye.
Bye.